r/AskReddit. What is something that everyone accepts as normal that scares you? That being in debt is normal. So many people just keep digging that hole with some amorphous thought that they will pay it all back eventually, even if they know deep down that it just won't happen. It feels like these are not normal times, and it scares me what peak crazy might be. It's starting to get to me. Same. I've developed anxiety, and now I am depressed and hate everything. It's like being in prison. I have done nothing since March except gain weight and when all those kids in Pinocchio turned into donkeys. That one kid crying for his mama before barking like a donkey terrified me as a kid. I'm very curious how they're going to do it for the live action version. Ignoring the truth because it makes them uncomfortable. You're not wrong. I've said for years now that I'd rather have the truth than believe false things. The problem is, we all have our preferred biases. Sometimes, I'll scroll past that uncomfortable truth before coming back to it for real before accepting it. One of the few things I'm 100% sure of is that there are some truths that I have yet to circle back on yet. That is, things I've already come across and dismissed as untrue. I also say that I'd rather only be wrong once. I know I've not lived up to that entirely though. The idea that being broken down and embittered at the world is a natural and unavoidable part of growing up. It's okay, I'll build you back up, Lego. The rapid increase in mass surveillance combined with the gathering and use of biometric data. I'm not usually a doomsday conspiracy theorist, but sprinkle a little advanced AI on top of that and I'll go make myself a nice tinfoil hat. Watching our rights slowly get taken away and people consider it normal is definitely one of my great terrors. Like privacy. I mean, less than half a century ago people would have considered it conspiracy theories to say that companies know everything about you, your location and shit, and they sell your data all around. On that note, there's a book called The Circle that is basically like a modern version of 1984. It's terrifying, and the reason so is because I could actually see it happening. Not caring about doing the right thing, or the well-being of other people. That you should have a career/future planned out for yourself before you finish high school. Why do people do this? As if people don't change as they grow, and that your ambitions stay the same. You expect teens to decide what they're gonna do with their lives before they can even drive? The amount of plastic in everyone's homes in the form of temporary food packaging. It doesn't seem like much until you pay attention to it, and then think about how much of it you alone are guilty of discarding. This stuff is literally everywhere, even in the lowest parts of our oceans. Saying no or telling someone I don't want to do something, setting boundaries, stuff like that is hard to do. I keep thinking of how I'm disappointing the person, hurting their feelings, or making them angry. And the reason it is so hard to do is because everyone has normalized overstepping boundaries. For instance, you start a new job and your co-workers ask questions to get to know you, but the questions start to become more and more personal and you begin to feel more and more uncomfortable. Do you politely refuse to answer these personal questions? If you do, chances are, your co-workers will become unfriendly and hostile towards you because you are stuck up or unfriendly. Which leads to another extremely frustrating thing that people have normalized. Extreme passive aggression. The world is full of predators anymore. I work at a casino, and back in February I was asked to stay like a half hour later of my shift, going to overtime late at night. Of course it's impossible for me to remember how I was on that one specific day, but I could only guess that I was exhausted, not feeling well, or was in pain from standing that I said no. I must have been pestered because I apparently later said yes, then changed my mind and asked to go home at my planned time. Well, comes August, and I get my yearly review. Apparently that one moment was such an offensive moment that it completely tarnished my rating for being helpful and a team player and completely overshadowed the dozens of times I've gone out of my way to be helpful to others, despite it never coming up again until then. And apparently it goes to HR for them to determine my raise. And of course they're not going to have any context. I like these supervisors, but I'm still considering going back to complain how it was handled because I consider it absolutely absurd. The fact that most of the current generation of working people in this country won't be able to have their own homes. I know a couple that will finally have paid off their home after retirement. It's a real shame. And it's not in America either, this is a worldwide issue for some reason. Europeans and the Japanese have it just as bad. Honestly, it's horrendous in Ireland now, especially Dublin. For a mortgage for a first time buyer you need at least 10% deposit, but you only can borrow 3.5 times your wage. So someone on say 30k, which is in or around average-ish, can only get 90k. The average house price in Dublin now is probably close to 400k. It's not even worth trying for most of us. You could move down the country for slightly cheaper housing, but on top of that virtually all the jobs are in Dublin. So you'd end up commuting, which would take all your time and money anyway. Driving, it terrifies me. Yup, the idea that I could do everything right but someone around me could be the one to mess up and kill me, or someone I love. That I'm supposed to just bleed for a week every month. For 30 odd years of my life. Who invented this abysmal system? I think also how normalized our pain is, that when it's something serious like endometriosis it takes years to diagnose because it's dismissed as normal to have pain. Being exploited at work, working free overtime hours, having short lunches, not using their full PTO. We are humans. We are better than this. Having kids. The thought alone makes me stress out. I just can't with my own life, let alone another human being. I don't have the mental health, money nor time for it. Teenagers having depression. So often, I see adolescents struggling with depression or other mental health concerns, only for them to be brushed off as mood swings or teenage angst. Nobody wants to take action for those kids until it's too late, and I wish that would change. Child beauty pageants. I don't know if I would say that everyone accepts these as normal, but the fact that they are still around and still pretty popular is concerning. People love to say you are in control of your life, but when you are being bullied, people say just ignore it and it will go away. Now you are relying on the bullies to get bored with you, which may take years. It's also not true when people say that you'll forget about it once you become an adult. People don't understand that bullying is a traumatic experience, which trauma sticks with you for a long time, and will possibly never go away. For some people, the memories of childhood bullying instills the fear of being bullied again as an adult in the workplace. Death, I'm freaking terrified. Yeah, your body will literally stop existing one day, but that's perfectly normal. Also, it's literally the only thing on earth that's 100% unavoidable, but that's totally fine. Like WTF. Giving a scientist and a crank equal credibility in news debates, as if scientific consensus versus pseudoscience non-science is something to be debated. People denying or not believing in science, as though it's a set of ideologies you can choose to align with rather than simple observation of cause and effect. I remember one time when a local news show tried to make an astronomer and an astrologer have a debate as equals. It was so dumb and pointless to almost be comedic. I would have laughed my ass off if the entire situation wasn't so miserable. Having the news on all day long. Posting pictures of your kids online. Other people posting pictures of your kids online and tagging them. Puke. Getting in a cylinder made of sheet metal and insulation and sitting in it going 800 km/h through the icy vacuum 30,000 feet above the earth. Treating kids as inferior beings. I don't know how hitting a child solves anything. The cost of education. Not everyone, but definitely far too many people are okay with driving high. People I know do it daily. Many of those people believe it makes them a better driver, or they've done it for long enough that they're fine. Not believing concrete facts. Not being able to speak about a different opinion than what is accepted by society as a whole without being shame-threatened. The fact that most men are made fun of and degraded for having feelings and emotions. All you're doing to them is making those men cold and hurt and angry. This is abuse, and, yes, it has very damaging and long-lasting psychological effects. You're not making them tough or manly, you're just teaching them that it's bad to be human, and that, in turn, teaches them to be cold and emotionless towards others, sometimes also leading to violence towards spouses and children. Men are human, too. Treat them like it. Lying. I think it's the most terrifying thing. putting every single life event or happening in your life on social media. People literally trying to do things so that they have something to post. And those weird people that ask you to post pics of them on your social media. Make sure you post that photo of us sitting on a cliff ledge, or in general sitting on the edge of something that is really high. Like, what do I do if you fall? I legit get anxious anytime I see someone do this. That thing. That Disney is making terrible live action movies of its better animations and people think they are good. Driving. You get so used to it and it becomes automatic, but your life can change in an instant. That being a virgin at 18 plus is crazy looked down upon. Using religion as justification for being an a-hole. Posting on social media. Terrified of feeling inadequate, which is why I just don't engage in it. Bro, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.